Asia Pacific overtakes the North America as a dominant region from 1% to nearly about, you can say 6 to 8% penetration. Kind of, no, that's why, no, the China, no, it's gone on a war putting.
Is aging in India fundamentally any different from aging in Western countries? And do you think this difference demands any different kind of a solution?
In the West, systems support aging, whereas in India, the families do that. But both are evolving. In Europe, over 20% of the population is already above 65. They have decades to build it, build the infrastructure. India is aging faster than how it's preparing to face this challenge of elderly living facilities. By 2030, India will have more seniors, elderly, than the entire population of many countries. But still, we lack or we need to have that integrated policy frameworks for senior living. You cannot simply import, the models from Western countries or European countries. Like you cannot copy, what is there in the suburban of Florida or the coastal area of Australia, and apply it on, like ground in Coimbatore, Pune, or Gurgaon. So you cannot just put it like that. It depends on the culture and economical aspects, the climatical aspects. They are not same in both the areas. So let me name the few key differences. One is that, the role of family, how are family support systems in India that they take care of elderly, the concern that they have it upon the elderly people. There is a difference between the Western countries and in India that how we take care of all this. And second thing is the nature of public life. Even if the elders, they live in their village or urban or senior living community or otherwise also, they have a system. You must have noticed, our elderly people in our house, they go to temples, they go to neighborhood, they're talking to people, associations, and in the rhythm of the community-based kind of a thing. Even if, whether it is a organized community or unorganized community, but this system, the nature of public life, it varies. There's a large difference between the Western countries, the European countries, and Indians. So that is the second aspect of it. And the third one is the economy. Economy in the sense, like most of the people who live in a retirement community, they bang upon the pension. They were in a good position, so they keep earning the pension every month. And based on that, they choose to live in the, say, the retirement community system, community. So it is the central design challenge, actually. And we need the tiered models. No, the government models, the government involvement, and the cross subsidy structures, that simply don't exist at a scale what we need. One point on the one angle, if you see the pension, earlier in the 30s, 40s, the medical expenses were not that much because we are hale and healthy. But as we age, your earning depletes and your medical expenses and other expenses increases. So it is a catch-22 position that that is a restriction or restraint that is put on the elders. And nobody's put on the elders. It is their own situation. And the fourth is healthcare integration. That we should have a good model of healthcare system integrated, and much more can be done in that area. So Denmark is the one best country that they have developed such kind of a system. So India is not behind, but India is at a turning point. That's what in one crux that I can tell.
So you mentioned that most of the seniors in India and maybe the world across face loneliness as one of the problems. Apart from loneliness, do you think there are any other emotional struggles that seniors go through and something that we are unable to see or choose not to see?
A good question, Amita. And talking about the loneliness, I think I'm the best person to explain. I've experienced this. Not now. Actually, I explained when I was posted in, while I was serving in army, when I was posted in Ladakh, in Sechin sector. So my area of responsibility was nearly about 10,000 square kilometers, including most of them in the glacier. Yeah. So talking about isolation, all around the mountains, the Himalayan mountains, and there was one river, Shiok River. I was sitting in the banks of that river and just watching the mountains days together. Of course, we are busy in other operational tasks, but when you have time and there's no one to talk to, where everybody is busy in their own tasks, including yourself, and you go to the neighboring company and meet the people, and so if you have to talk to somebody, you have to travel. So days together I spent like this, watching the mountains, watching the river, watching everything. So people living in retirement communities, or otherwise the elders, the isolation is the one thing that is the killing effect on them. It emotionally or every angle psychologically, they are affected. The studies show that the people who are living in isolation, it is something like smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So if somebody smokes 15 cigarettes a day, you imagine what kind of healthcare system that he has to undergo. So it is that kind of effect the isolation it gives you, particularly when a person is single. There also, when a lady is single, her emotional, psychological, and other mental makeup adjusts. Whereas if a gentleman, an elderly person is a gentleman, he finds it difficult to fight the isolation. He gets into depression. He isolates himself. He doesn't go and talk to people, and he doesn't like also others to come and talk to him. So he gets into depression. Not all of them, but equally many of them. So the isolation, the mortality risk, the studies show that it is about 30%. So in places like Denmark and all, the senior living community integrate the purpose, the volunteering, mentoring, and the engagement. So all that. And this is where I brought it in my website, virukshadevelopers.com. It says, I have discussed, two aspects, two concepts, is the multi-generational concept and intergenerational concept. The intergenerational here it is, they're fighting the isolation. So they live in the same community. Of course, they are living in the senior living community. They impart their knowledge, experience, and what they gained. So all the seniors who are living in that place, they are moving encyclopedia, you can say. So their experience is rich, their knowledge is rich, it's overflowing. So if some people are there, the staff children or somebody, it can be a guiding factor to them. You can teach them, you can guide them, they can mentor them. So even the youngsters, if somebody is doing a project, he can share his experience, so he can advise the people how they can go about it. So it's basically a knowledge sharing. Whereas the multi-generation concept is it is a replacement of the earlier joint family system. So these two aspects, which I advocate normally whenever I, being the consultant to various developers, I advise this, you have a community, you have 20% for seniors, at least 20 to 30% keep it as on a real estate mode where their children can stay. Like my daughter can stay there or my son can stay there. They have two children or three children, and I take care of their children during when they are away on the job. And when I want, I can go there. So there is that 3 generations that you are interlinking, my generation, my daughter and son's generation, and their kids' generation. So I'm basically what happened, I believe and propagate that, bringing back the old joint family system to a nuclear family system where they face a lot of challenges. When you have this kind of a system incorporated in the senior living community, that will work very fine. And that will also kill the isolation. That will also kill other psychological aspects of stress. Once I retire, then after retirement, suddenly what happened? Everything has abruptly stopped. The transition abruptly stopped. So the invisibility is converted into be a visible factor. So the very basic thing what we have to, I can bring it out is that what I call all this, the grief of irrelevance. 35, 40 years I worked with total authority and with the decision maker and everything, consulted, respected, and deferred to. And one day, like you're not. So retirement in India can extraordinarily abrupt. And the second thing is that like the fear. The fear means it's not about the death or anything else. It is basically the fear of burden. I don't want to burden my children. I don't want to give any trouble to them. I don't want to give any inconvenience to them, discomfort to them. So that kind of a psyche that elders they have, most of the elders they have, they don't disclose what the ailment they have, what the pain they undergo, what their emotional, physical, or psychological aspects that they have. They don't want to trouble their children. So that way, ultimately, what happens? It's a sad dynamic, profound sad dynamic. So the third is the urban center. The collapse of public sphere. Earlier, I mentioned about the Rajasthan in Punjab, how the elderly in the villages, how they have the liberty to be part of the community system and have their due respect, whereas their counterparts in living in Gurgaon or in other city, how they are stuck to few hundred square foot of building or apartment, restricting themselves in the most of the day into that area. So they have the psychological, emotional pressure put on them. Basically, as I said, the WHO, it says that isolation and all these aspects, it has got the great impact on them. As I said, 15 cigarettes a day. So it is not that easy to live with isolation or all these aspects.
The sad part is that not many people talk about these problems that elderly people face. I think we should talk more about it so that there is awareness. Why do you think, sir, that India needs senior living communities urgently? Not eventually, but now, in this moment.
Because the numbers are no longer future, they're present. As I said, the present population, senior living population is 150 as of now, 2026, which is going to be nearly about 346 millions by 2050, means one in every five seniors, 5% will be a senior citizen. So lastly, data shows the raising chronic illness and mental health and all these issues and dependency ratios that is already increased. So if you do not create such a structured ecosystems dealing with housing, healthcare, community, we will face a silent crisis in future. So countries like Singapore, they have the senior living as part of urban planning, and we also should have. And many countries they include that senior living or elder living concept as part of the urban planning system. We are this like with our population, and unless we take this issue, this challenge as a war footing basis, and we are going to have tough time if we don't act upon. Policy frameworks will have to be improved upon, or where the changes needed, or where the changes to be added, or regulatory authority should be well established and well framed, the policies. So unless we do that, it's again is a risky concept to face by the next generations. So in fact, one thing I can tell you about this is one angle. The other angle is about the market. What is the market share in the senior living or elderly care globally or in India? Globally, if you take, it's like the senior living economy or the silver economy I call is not 1.5 to $2 trillion. To say in a summarized way, the global, it is 1.5 to $2 trillion economy, which will become 5 to 7 by 2050. In India, it is 30 to $40 billion today, which will become 500 to $1 trillion by 2050. So that is the opportunity the market share that we have. Mainly the Asia Pacific overtakes the North America as a dominant region from 1% to nearly about, you can say 6 to 8% penetration. That becomes India becomes a top three global market, we can say. That is the opportunity that we have. As far as the housing is concerned, which is a very important aspect that we have to analyze. And today we have our supply is about 20,000 units, whereas we need by 2050 5 to 7 million units that we need to have. The demand is 1.7 million today, total demand, whereas we have 6 to 8 million is the demand by 2050. So to the market penetration, if you see, we have not even 1%, maybe 1% that we have met with the demand. The supply is 1%. So that is the level that we have to take action on a war footing. China is facing a big problem. They had this single child system, which backfired. My doctoral research, I have analyzed this. Husband and wife was a young couple. They have the responsibility to look after nearly 16 people. Like, you take the three generations, their father, grandfather, the parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents on both sides. Because the Chinese, they live longer, thanks to the medical facility and other aspects, the lifestyle system. Earlier, what happened that 30s in India, if you take the average age was 32 to 37 years, but today it has become 70 onwards. So basically, because of the good medical care system and other aspects. So if that is the thing, we don't want such kind of That's why the China it's gone on a war footing measure to face this challenge. They are doing it. They are constructing the senior living units in a very faster scale, and we also should do that. That is where the government support system should have. The policy should be framed or reframed or modified, or to be added few aspects, and government should support the public-private partnership system. So even the private corporates that they have to enter into it. Few people have done, they're already into it. A few organizations and corporates. But in India today, what happened? We are addressing only the people who can afford to live in senior living community, and the middle class and below middle class. That sector need to be addressed, which will be addressed. Actually, the government will take initiative on that, or even the private operators will take initiative on that. So the closing part of it, what I can summarize is that this is not a real estate with opportunity, looking out for the opportunity. It's a social responsibility and all the stakeholders that they have to butt in.
We are coming towards the end of our episode today. And before we leave, I would like to know from you, what is that one idea or thought that you would want all our viewers to have in their minds?
I would like them to carry a question, not a conclusion. I would ask, are we preparing for aging today, or are we avoiding it? Because aging is not an event. It's a design challenge. And the choices we make today, and it will define how we live tomorrow. Close your eyes metamorphically, and you think yourself, you're the age of 75. And where will you live? Who will surround you? How are you going to take care of yourself? And what will you give? What will your day structure and the meaning? Will you have the privacy when you need, and a community when you crave for it? It's not. Now ask the same questions to your parents, the same questions to your in-laws, and to the people who you love. And if you do not have the answer for it, and if the honest answer is I thought they would have managed it, or I haven't thought about it. If your answer is this, then you're the person that you should listen to this conversation. This conversation is for you. Dignified aging doesn't happen by accident. It is designed, it is planned, and it is built. And it is the conversation we must start, not when the crisis arrives at your doorstep, but right now, while we still have the luxury of deliberation, we must do it.
Thank you. With that, we have come to the end of the first episode of Designing Dignified Aging. Thank you, sir, for joining us and sharing your insightful thoughts, your experiences with us. They are really invaluable. And to all the viewers who resonated with the discussion that took place, we request you to share the video with as many people as possible, because it is important that we start this conversation today so that we prepare ourselves and all the elders around us for the future they truly deserve. See you in episode number 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Amita. Thanks a lot for like that I have shared my thoughts with you and the viewers. Thank you.